Good morning. It is Monday, the 8th of June, and I'm out walking my dog in a high vis and talking about education. It's Simon Lewis here from onshaw.net. These podcasts are available on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. That's Onshaw, ANSEO. Or now you can find them on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and various other places. If you so wish to listen to my rantings every morning. These thoughts are not planned particularly. I have a topic and I talk about them for a few minutes, anything from between 5 and 10 minutes or so. And then clips are uploaded to Instagram, LinkedIn and Facebook. So with all that advertising out of the way, what are we going to talk about? Well, it's back to our unconvention, and the theme that we're focusing on at the moment is special education. And one of the big questions this week was about the lottery of set allocations and why people thought that is and what we're going to do about it. But before that happened, there was the SNA role. The role of the SNA was, the circular came out about it, and I was curious as to what people thought about it, and I have published a report on my Substack channel, which you can have a read of. It seems much more controversial than I expected, because it seems that it's not a done deal. But anyway, on to this question of the lottery of set allocations. This came to me, I suppose, through one of the questions, because some schools seem to be able to give support to children who have what I would think of as minor sort of issues, such as poor handwriting, or let's say slight difficulties in a small area of numeracy, or even Gaeilge. And then there are some schools who can't even give a child with any literacy and numeracy support because they're so busy dealing with children who are unable to even access the curriculum. And it's almost a lottery of what school you go to show what sort of support the school can offer. So some people have been responding to that, and the response has been really interesting to me, because for me, the answer is reasonably simple. We have a system where an algorithm decided what supports a school would be offered to share out with its cohort. And this algorithm was made in 2017, and the algorithm calculated what the school would get based on 5 criteria, and there are literacy and numeracy scores, which is quite controversial. There were complex needs, which were to come from the HSC, debt status, gender of the school, which is again controversial, and is we'll talk about that in a while. And then obviously the enrolment, the size of the school. And the mad thing about this was that this algorithm somehow managed to amazingly be really, the results for every school, almost every school, the results seem to be really close, or exactly the amount of allocations they already had at that point in 2016. Now, it made no sense then, and ever since then, every year or every 2 years as it was back then, the allocations would update, and schools would generally either stay around the same as they were before, or there might be a move up or a move down a little bit. And it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because the calculations are based on where that school was in 2017, which basically means that no school really is getting enough support, probably. But then some schools are better off in this, relatively speaking, and then other schools are absolutely floundering under the pressure of the amount of changes since 2017. And when you question these kind of things, or even if you think about them for a few seconds, let's say, to start off with, if you think about it for a few seconds, I'm just not sure how we just accepted that algorithm, because nobody seems to understand it. You can't. It's impossible to get information on other schools. They're protected under freedom of information. One principal in Carlow, or not in Carlow, in Cork, tried to figure it out for I think it was 48 schools in his area, and came to the same conclusions I had, that this is all a heap of mess, junk data really, and tried to see if joint schools would come together to sort of, I suppose, protest this, or look at it particularly from a context of developing schools who were most affected by this. But when I asked the question, I suppose I asked the big question to think, much of the responses were really interesting. There was sort of an acceptance that the allocations that were out there, not always, that the allocations that out there were fine, or if they weren't fine, they weren't questionable, and it was actually the schools themselves that might have been focusing on the wrong thing, potentially. So someone had said some schools are doing better paperwork, therefore they have more resources in the lottery of set allocations, which I thought was really interesting. Some people said it's because they're prioritising the highest needs, which is a really interesting one to me, because over the last number of years, this mantra of you need to focus on the highest needs within your school, as if that is as if that makes any sense, and it's parroted. And I think when people say it to me, they sort of smile to themselves, because they know it's very easy to see through that. If you provide the most resources to the highest needs, that just essentially means that you're not providing resources to children with fewer, down on the list. So effectively, you're not giving support to all of the children. That's what we should be doing. The aim is you give support to all of the children that need it, not just the few. And if you're not doing that, then there's a problem in the resourcing that you're getting. And that line seems to be trundled out and left as if that is the school's fault, for not providing all the children in their class or in their school with supports, and it's very frustrating. So I suppose this week I want to continue that conversation a little bit for the Young Convention. Why are we not questioning the set allocation? What should replace the set allocation model? Is the algorithm that's been sent out there, is it fit for purpose? I mean, I think the answer to that is no, but you may disagree. And what would be a better way to provide the set allocations? I haven't even got on to the whole cluster games nonsense where schools have to do that, but that's probably less important for this particular question. But again, maybe people might have some thoughts about that. So big thoughts for the start of a June weekend at one of the busiest weeks of the year. I know the first week of June is like almost like the starter meal for in a restaurant for the madness of June, and then we are into the main course. We are really into the main course this week. Best of luck in there. Maybe this will keep you through having big thoughts about big questions about education, and look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.